So before we get into all of the new stuff, let's do a little review. Find the slope between the points. Okay, all right, we can do that. So I'm going to use my slope formula. You know I like to label. You don't have to label. I just like to label, you know. All right, and let's plug it in. Y2 minus Y1, X2 minus X1. And of course, as always, I know it's such a teacher thing to say, be careful of your signs. You got a lot of negatives down here on the bottom. Let's make that a plus. So on the top, of course, I have -2, denominator 3. Too easy. All right, let's look at this guy. Graph the following lines on the same coordinate plane. Okay, so this is just a practice really of, can you count out the slope right? All right, pass this through the point. I'm going to do this one in purple. -1, 2. So first plot the point, -1, 2. Got it. And from that point, we are going to count out a slope of 3. Now I'm going to think about that as a fraction, 3/1. So the rise is 3, run is 1. So we're going to go up 3, which way 1? Right 1. Got it. Okay, so from our point, up 3, right 1. I just put a couple points on because we've all seen my lack of artistic drawing skills. Got it. All right, I'm going to do this one in blue. Pass this through the point 2, 3. So plot that, plot 2, 3. Got it. And slope of 3. So again, same spiel. We're going to go up 3, right 1. 1, 2, 3, right 1. Got it. Got it. And of course, I just did a couple points because we all know I can't draw that straight. Now, if I was a better artist, no comments. What type of lines do we have here? What do you notice about these lines? They're parallel. Now, we are going to talk about parallel lines today. I knew before I even started graphing anything and plotting anything, they were going to be parallel. What is significant about the information they gave you that makes these lines parallel? Slope is the same. So when we're writing equations of lines for parallel lines coming up here, we're going to be using the exact same slope. Now, perpendicular, different situation. We'll talk about that in a minute. So two lines, of course, are parallel if and only if, hey, you know I love to review, if and only if there's a biconditional statement for us from chapter 2. Can't help myself. Two parallel lines, if and only if their slopes are the same. Now, for perpendicular, I know you know perpendicular means they intersect in right angles. To make that happen, the slopes have to be opposite in sign. So one positive, one negative, and then they also have to be, here's a fancy math vocab word for you, reciprocals. Now remember, reciprocals mean you flip the fraction. So just humor me. If I told you the slope is -2/3, what would the perpendicular slope be for that? +3/2. Good. So you have to flip the sign, flip the fraction. That will make the two lines intersect in right angles. Okay, probably know this from Algebra 1, just maybe need a little refresher. So here we go. Write an equation of line that passes through the point, -1, 1. Got it. Parallel. Okay, we got to read close today to this equation. So first off, remember, it's all about the slopes on these lines. So what's the slope of this equation they give you? 2. And I know for parallel slopes, I use the exact same slope. So I'm going to use the slope of 2. And they want it to go through this point, -1, 1. Okay, all right. So here's the question now. Am I using slope-intercept form or point-slope form? What you're really asking is -1, 1, the y-intercept. No dice on that. You don't have 0, comma. So I'm going to use this point-slope form that we started working on yesterday. I'm going to do y minus the y-coordinate equals our slope, x minus the x-coordinate. And of course, minus a negative, let's make it a plus. So there's the setup. And of course, because I made your homework, it's going to want all the final answers in slope-intercept form. So I just have to go through now and do the algebra and solve for y. Well, that's not hard. It just takes a little time. 2 times x, 2 times 1. And then, of course, I'm going to add the 1 over. So I'm going to put my final answer, y equals 2x plus 3. Now, if you're ever worried, like, oh gosh, did I do this right? Did I mess this up? Do I have the right answer? If you graph the original equation on your calculator, quick and easy, and graph our green answer, you will see the lines will run parallel to each other. It's a quick, easy way to check. So really, the extra step today is knowing that parallel, I had to use the exact same slope as what they gave me. It's all about knowing what to use for the slope. So write an equation on the line that passes through the point, and I'm off the screen there a little bit. 1, 2, parallel. So the question for you is, what am I using for a slope? 3. We just steal it from this line. And of course, we're going through 1, 2. So now I'm asking myself, is 1, 2 the y-intercept? What's the answer to that question? No, because it's not 0, 1, 2 is not on the y-axis. So I'm using, again, feel like a broken record, point slope. Y minus the y coordinate and the slope, x minus the x. Now, same deal. We're going to distribute. We're going to solve for y. You know how it works. So 3 times x, 3 times -1. And of course, last but not least, let's just add the 2 over. Got it. So I have a good feeling. I probably haven't taught you anything new. I'm pretty sure you covered this in Algebra 1. Maybe just needed a refresher. Any questions, anything on the front page of your notes I can answer? Clearly not, since everybody's flipping it. All right. Write an equation line that passes through the point. Ooh, fancy, so fancy. Perpendicular. Okay, all right, we can do it. So what are you using for your slope? Perpendicular to this line. So our slope, of course, 4/3. What are you using to make it perpendicular? There we go. Flip the sign, flip the fraction. So first I'm going to jot down what I'm going to use for slope, and of course we've got 0, 3. Now, same questions as always. Is this the y-intercept? Winning! So we don't have to do any more work, really. We pretty much got it. Y equals the slope times x, and we have our y-intercept of 3. Now, don't forget, and this is just a review because I know we've had a lot of kids gone. If you're like, oh man, I don't know if I would have caught that was the y-intercept, like I'm just grinding away and I'm just in the pattern and doing it, you could still do your y minus the y coordinate equals the slope, x minus the x. Keep doing the work, you'll get the exact same answer. It's just kind of the scenic route and takes more steps, so you'll get the same thing. Okay, write an equation of the line, passes through the point, perpendicular. Okay. Well, what are we going to use for slope? Positive 4/3. We got to flip the sign, flip the fraction. And of course, they want us to go through the point, 3, 5. Now, is 3, 5 the y-intercept? No, we can't be lucky all the time, right? Okay, so here we go, point slope form. Y minus the y coordinate, our slope of 4/3, x minus the x. Now, same thing, all your answers on your homework, they're going to want them in slope intercept, so we're going to distribute, solve for y. Don't let the fraction scare you, it works out pretty nice. Because when you do 4/3 times 3, what happens to the 3's? Cancel, bam, we're down to 4, I like it. All I have to do is add the 5 over, we got it. So I'm going to put my final answer, 4/3 x plus 1. So any questions on that guy? Have I taught you anything new? I think we've done this. Does this seem familiar? I have a feeling. I hope. We'll find out. Now, special cases, of course, always that horizontal and vertical lines, talking about the graphs, writing the equations, all of that good stuff. So if you have to graph horizontal or vertical, so you can do it, of course, just off your table of values. So if we need to make a table of values with 3 points and sketch it. Okay, all right, here's what we're going to do. So our equation, of course, x equals 5. All the x coordinates have to be 5. So I'm just going to fill that in. Once 3 points. There is no y in your equation. You can pick whatever numbers you want to pick for y. Now, I'm going to keep them small, though. I'm going to do like 0, let's do -1 and 3. You might have different numbers than I did, but we all should have 5 in the x column. All right, let's plot them. 5, 0, 5, -1, 5, 3. And I'm going to connect them. No shock here. Makes a nice vertical line. So if you need the table of values, now that is the one kind of, I guess, Debbie Downer part on your graphing calculators. You just have a y equals menu. It won't do that vertical line for you, but it would do this one if we needed it to. So now we've got y equals -2. So the y column has to be filled in with -2. There's no x in it, so you can pick. Again, I'm just going to pick small numbers so I can make it easy and keep it on the graph. So like I'm going to do 3, I'm going to do 2, I'm going to do -4. I don't know. I'll just pick some. So I'm going to do 3, -2, 2, -2, and I'm going to do -4, -2. And of course, if I can connect those and draw out the straight line, we have our nice horizontal line. So you can always, if you're unsure of like, oh gosh, I can't remember, is that vertical or horizontal? You can always make the table and graph a couple points and see it. Now, we should, of course, know, we know a lot about slope. We can count slope all day long. What is the slope of this red line? Undefined. All vertical lines have a slope undefined. Of course, the reason why you don't have a run. You would have 0 in the bottom, whatever over 0. What is your slope of all horizontal lines? 0. Because of course you don't have a rise, you only have the run. All right, just a little review of that stuff. Any questions on that? All right, we're cruising on here. Write the equation of the line that passes through 5, 6 and is parallel to y equals 8. You can see B parallel to x equals -1. C, y equals 8. Okay, so we're on all this horizontal, vertical line stuff. So these are still easy, like yesterday, those last 4 on the homework, but can be a little tricky on whether it's x equals y equals, all that sort of stuff. So first off, y equals 8. We have to know what type of line it is. Y equals a number is horizontal. So I'm just kind of mentally thinking about that. I want to make it parallel to it. So if you have a horizontal line, what type of line would be parallel to that? Another horizontal. So I need another horizontal for my answer. It's going to be a y equals, all horizontals are y equals, and you have to hit the point 5, 6. So does y need to equal 5 or does y need to equal 6? 6, the y coordinate. So these are still easy, but a little tricky because you have to think your way through horizontal, vertical, x equals, y equals, all the things. Okay, write the equation line. Passes through that parallel to x equals -1. Let's start with this. So again, x equals always turns out to be a vertical line. So I'm just going to make myself a little note that that's vertical. Okay, got it. Now, to be parallel. So if you have a vertical line, what type of line is going to be parallel to that? Another vertical. Okay, so I need a vertical. Got it. I know verticals are x equals, and we have to hit this point. Well, x better equal which number? -3. We're done. So any questions on those guys? Okay, let's spice it up a bit. Write the equation of the line that passes through 5, 6, perpendicular to y equals 8. Well, let's start with this. So the given line, what type is it? Vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, good. So if we're going to make it perpendicular, if you have a horizontal line, what type is going to be perpendicular to it? A vertical. So my answer is going to be a vertical. And I know all vertical lines are x equals. We have to hit 5, 6. So x better equal which number? 5. These are the tricky ones. That's why we're doing a few of these. I think these are the tricky ones anyway. Okay, passes through 3, 4, perpendicular to x equals -1. Okay, so start with the given equation. What type of line is this? Horizontal or vertical? Vertical, x equals or vertical, hits the x-axis. We want to make it perpendicular. So if you have a vertical, what is going to be perpendicular to a vertical? A horizontal. So we need a horizontal for our answer. I know horizontals are y equals, and we have to hit the point. So y better be equaling what? 4. So I know I did kind of a few of these, but they're easy, but you have to be super conscientious whether it's x equals, y equals, and you're picking the right coordinates. Okay, last thing I have for you, and you probably know how to do this, write the equation of the line that passes through that, etc. Okay, so we've been doing lines forever. So of course the first thing I need, before I figure out is it slope, intercept, or point slope, any of that, I need the slope. So let's find the slope. So I'm going to label, I like to label. So I'm just going to calculate my slope, a little y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. I'm going to make it 9 over -4. Now, this is just one of those little algebraic unwritten rules, so to speak. We usually don't leave a negative in the denominator of a fraction. I'm just going to kick it out front. So I'm going to say my slope is -9/4. 9/4 doesn't reduce. I'm just going to roll with it. Okay, we need the equation of the line. Now, you have choices on how to get it. So as always, slope-intercept form's the easiest. We all know that, okay? Versus point-slope takes you more work. So I'm looking at the points. Are either of these points the y-intercept? Winning. Our y-intercept right here. So I've got everything I need. I can just jot down the answer and we're going to be done. So my final answer is going to be -9/4 times x, and then they gave you the y-intercept, 4. Now, just to show you, if you're like, man, I am bad at picking out those y-intercepts, although you want to be good at that because it's less work, you could have done point-slope form. Like you could use that first point there, and then your slope, x minus the x. Go through, do all the work, you'll get the same exact answer. So there are some choices on how you do some of these. If you pick out the y-intercept, though, I promise your life is easier. All right? Any questions I can answer on those? Okay, so let me